when ABC started running promos for 9-to-11's two-part midseason premiere, revealing that Maddie was going to be kidnapped. We were surprised the network would give away such a big twist up front. You'd think we'd know by now that a far more shocking development was waiting in the wings. Thursday's episode introduced Abigail Spencer as Detective Amber Braeburn, who worked with Maddie and Athena to catch a serial kidnapper linked to the disappearances of several young girls over the course of a decade. But before we dive into that, this isn't the first time Spencer has shared the screen with Jennifer Love Hewitt. She previously guest starred on an episode of CBS Ghost Whisperer in 2007. The first thing I said to her was, "Oh my God, the last time I saw you was 20-something years ago, when you were a sexy mechanic with a ghost attached to you." Hewitt tells TV Line, adding that she was very excited for Spencer to come and play on 9-to-11. She's phenomenal, and she had quite the job to do. Maddie received multiple calls from the kidnapper throughout the harrowing hour. Constantly crying, he kept insisting that he didn't want to keep hurting these kids. He saw himself as a monster, unable to stop himself from committing heinous acts. All of their conversations were tense, but things took an especially dark turn when he mentioned Maddie's daughter Ji-Yun. The reason that line is in there is because I asked the director, the writer, and showrunner Tim Minear if we could add it on the day we were doing it, Hewitt says. For me, it felt like that was the thing that makes what happened next oak. It's that mama bear trigger. It's that thing of like, oh, now you've crossed over and you've brought out who I really am. What happened next was indeed shocking. When it became apparent that the kidnapper was about to shoot his young victim, Maddie coaxed him into shooting himself instead, framing it as the only way he could kill the monster inside of him. Not only was that a surprising turn of events for Hewitt, but she says she was actually nervous about how the fans would react. "I'm game for going crazy and doing all the things, but I never want to compromise Maddie's goodness," she explains. "This is a moment where I feel like you could go, oh, that's not who I want her to be." I think fans will forgive Maddie for it once they see next week's episode and all that she's put through, but this was definitely the first time playing Maddie where I was like, oh gosh, are they going to forgive me for this? Because it's a crazy thing to do, but I really do think that in that moment, it's all she can do to save other people. That's how I wrapped my head around it. Speaking of people not being who we want them to be, the episode ended with Maddie back at home, where she read Ji-Yun a bedtime story before doing the dishes. A figure appeared behind her in the kitchen, one she assumed was Chimney, until that person knocked her out from behind. As Maddie drifted in and out of consciousness, she caught a glimpse of her assailant, who removed her mask to reveal Detective Braeburn. "The whole time? You made me do this," she said as Maddie faded out. "You're going to be so mad at me." In regards to this even bigger twist, Hewitt had a lot of feelings. I was like, wait, what? No way. But also, yes way. Let's have a drop-dead, gorgeous, terrible person on TV. I love this. Despite being shocked, Hewitt was equally thrilled. "I was really happy because I knew what was coming up and where the rest of the story was going to go," she says. "I knew that I would be with a safe partner in crime for all the things that were coming, and that we were going to get to be together was really nice." As actresses who have been in this town for a really long time, but also as people who had known each other before, we were able to be like, "Are you good? I'm good. I've got you and you've got me, so let's just let all of it go and be crazy and do all that's required." It was very freeing and fun to do, even though it was also awful and torturous. Though Maddie has found herself up against several enemies over the years, from her abusive ex-husband to the terrorists who took over the call center, this one promises to be an even more intense experience for one simple reason: she's escaping for two now. Maddie desperately wants this pregnancy to be different than the other one, Hewitt says. "She went through so much chemically in her brain that she could not help last time, so there's fighting on all angles." She's fighting to get out of this situation, to make it through, to get back to her family, and to have this baby. Her being pregnant adds to the vulnerability of her situation and what's at stake for her. Oak, let's talk. Did you see that final twist coming? And what did you think of the 9-11 mid-season premiere overall? Grade it in our poll below, then drop a comment with your full review.